Welcome to Get Paid for Your Pad, the definitive show on Airbnb hosting, featuring the best advice on how to maximize profits from your Airbnb listing, as well as real-life experiences from Airbnb hosts all over the world. Welcome.
Get paid for your pad. 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 Get paid for your pad.
I've begun using a really cool service from Aviva IQ, and it's made my life so much easier. My guests love receiving all the important details about their stay exactly when they need it. And I love all the 5-star reviews I'm getting on communication. Check them out at www.avivaiq.com. Welcome everybody to another episode of Get Paid for Your Pad. Today I am hosting this episode with Nicole Prentice Williams, who is the VP of Strategic Partnerships of Hostfully. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jasper. It's great to be back. I always enjoy doing these chats with you.
How is everything going?
Good. Just was at the Vacation Rental Managers Association conference for the Western region last week in Southern California, and it was a good turnout. Got to hear a lot of industry news and talked to a lot of vacation rental managers like west of the Mississippi to the Pacific. So it was good.
Awesome. Any interesting takeaways or highlights?
Just a lot of vacation rental managers that are interested in new technology and how to, give a better experience for their guests. It's really about providing that memorable experience so that they want to come back and they want to tell other people about it.
I feel like there's more and more vacation rental management companies popping up everywhere. I get a lot of emails from vacation rental management companies. So I feel like there might be a little shift or trend going on where more and more hosts are using these managers or even automated systems, to manage their Airbnb listings.
Yeah, it's definitely a booming business. You see a lot of realtors who traditionally sell properties, and now they are even moving into the industry as well, doing a lot of vacation rentals for owners who may not end up wanting to sell. So, it seems like it's growing for sure.
Well, I'm now in Moscow, and I'm actually staying at my third Airbnb in Russia. This is my first ever visit to this country. I stayed in an Airbnb Moscow last week, and then I was in St. Petersburg over the last few days, and I stayed at an Airbnb there. And now I'm back in Moscow, and it's interesting because every single check-in so far has been a little bit challenging with regards to like communication, but also with regards to actually finding the place. It's interesting to use Airbnb so much as as a guest, because it's really good to be in the shoes of the guest, because then you really see like what kind of issues you run into when the host is not communicating well or providing enough information. Like, for example, my check-in here, well, I arrived in a taxi. I only had a bill of 5,000 rubles and I had to pay 1,000, and the taxi driver didn't have any change. This is the first time that I'm not using Uber. And I immediately got punished for it. So I'm definitely going back to Uber. Fortunately, they do have Uber here in Moscow, but I took a normal taxi for a change. And so I had to drive around to find a place where we could change this $5,000 bill. Finally, I decided to just walk into a shop and buy a bottle of wine and use the change to pay the taxi driver. But in any case, like while this was happening, I was communicating with my host, and she kept telling me that she was waiting for me, and that I was late. And so when I finally arrived, the building that I'm staying it's a really big building, and there's all these different entrances. And so the only thing I had was the address, really. And so I saw the sign of the address, the number. And so I just walked up to the building, and the first gate that I saw, I just walked in, and I basically got completely lost. And so I called the host, and it took a while, but she finally she found me, and then she was kind of a little bit, I'd say, slightly annoyed, because she told me, like, I told you to be at the front entrance, and like, what are you doing here? And I was like, well, I mean, it's not very clear where the front entrance is, to be honest. Yeah. And it just kind of shows that as a host, when you've been living at your place, you're super familiar. It may seem really, really logical and makes a lot of sense. And it may seem very easy to find everything, right? Because you're so used to it. But then for somebody who's never been in the area even, it can be a completely different perspective. So it's just, these experiences here have definitely solidified sort of the idea that as a host, you really want to, provide much more information than you think that the guest would need. Like, I'm thinking like pictures of the entrance, little Google Maps.
Did you tell her about Hostfully guidebooks? I hope.
Of course I did.
She could have had all those images right there on how to check in. I think. Well, anyway, we can send her the information.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think these, guidebooks in general are very essential, because, I mean, I'm getting very little information. I'm getting literally like a message with the address, and that's pretty much it. Anyway, let's, in the end, it was all fine, and it's a nice apartment. So, yeah, I'm not complaining.
Well, we need to help her out, though, Jasper, really.
I know, right? I mean, there's still a room for education for Airbnb hosts, for sure.
Let's send her the link right after this.
But let's talk about what's been going on in the world of Airbnb. Let's start with something that happened in actually my home city of Amsterdam. And I've seen these kind of stories pop up quite often, where a tourist gets scammed by a phony Airbnb listing, an Airbnb listing that doesn't really exist. Well, the listing exists, but the actual house may or not exist. But basically what happens is that the tourists sends a message on the Airbnb platform to make an inquiry for a place to stay. And then the person somehow gets the guest to provide them with an email address. And then they send a fake email with payment information. And so then the guest pays, but there's no actual booking on the Airbnb site. And so the guest is scammed out of the money and doesn't have a place to stay. Now, these stories, you see them quite often. And, I always wonder, how is this possible? Because, Airbnb filters in their messaging system, and even on the listing site, there's a filter that hides any sort of contact information. Because, I get a lot of emails from hosts, and they ask me to look at their listing. So I look at several listings every single day, and I see a lot of listings that have this, this hidden content thing where the host is trying to provide some information. And so I always let them know. I say, hey, I don't know what you're trying to display there, but it's not showing. And then it always turns out that it's not actually contact details. It's something else. So Airbnb uses a pretty, broad filter to make sure that that contact information isn't displayed.
Yeah, I've come across that myself. It's very difficult, especially with people. Sometimes they'll write out their phone number all in letters, spelling out the numbers, because they're just trying to get you to call them. It's like, we're here, we're communicating here. This is where we communicate. So it's a safety net, and it's great that they have that. I'm wondering if this contact information for this scammer was in a screenshot somewhere within the listing, and maybe wasn't detected because it was in a picture or something. I don't know. It would be interesting if I think this was the Sun that got this story, if they would have included a picture, but I guess they couldn't at that point because the listing was down.
Yeah, that's definitely possible what you're saying. So you're saying people could provide the contact information in a picture, right?
Correct.
And put it in the photo section.
Yeah, I think because it was referred to as an advertisement somewhere within this article. So that is what triggered in my mind. Maybe there was an image. Airbnb spokesman said they shouldn't have had the advertisement on their website in the first place. So I was thinking, oh, advertisement, that's how she described it. Maybe it was an image that had an email address in it, or a phone number, however she contacted. them.
But it's still interesting because even if you put the picture in your listing with your contact details, then you're still relying on the guest to contact you.
Yeah, it sounds like she did.
Which is because in the article it's mentioned that she received an email with a confirmation. So she must have somehow provided her email address to the host without actually, making the booking. So the only way then that this could happen is that the host has maybe a picture in their photo section, and then they message on the Airbnb system, "Hey, contact me. Look at the picture for the information." Then then the girl sends the email, and then they have the email address to respond to.
Right. She says, I was reading this description of the place, and it said to book and then send a query through this email address. So she must have seen an email address somewhere in that description. I don't think, it sounds like they never even got to the messaging part. Maybe she was a first-time user of Airbnb and wasn't aware of the messaging at all. Perhaps that's how she thought. Who knows? I don't know for sure, but I'm just guessing that she's 20 years old, and she's reading through the description of the property, and then she sees somewhere within there, book through this email address, and that's how she proceeds.
Yeah, I still find it strange that the contact information, she read it in the description and it should have been blacked out. But in any case,
hopefully they take more safeguards to do that, if that was the case. But yeah, it's very puzzling. How did she get that email address?
Yeah, it definitely is. And you see these stories quite often, and I'm always, every time I see a story like this, I hope that they put like a screenshot of how the information was displayed, but they never really provide that information.
Yeah, I guess at the time they're not thinking that they're going to be scammed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's move on to another topic. Let's talk about Latin America. There's an article in the New Zealand Herald, actually. So Airbnb's fastest market is actually Latin America right now. And they are going to take a different approach when it comes to collaborating with the local governments, which is an interesting switch that they're making. So up until now, basically their approach has been, we're just facilitating these home sharing businesses, and only if we're getting sued, if there's a lot of resistance, then we'll strike a deal with the local authorities to come to some sort of compromise. But now they're going to be more proactive about reaching these type of compromises before there's actually any big resistance and court cases, etc. So, for example, in Mexico, they're making an arrangement with the local authorities that they're going to collect 3% lodging tax. And this is also what hotels are paying as well. So I think it's an interesting change of approach, and they're planning to approach it this way in other countries in South America as well.
Yeah, smart of them. I mean, I guess they've learned from their lessons. They pretty much faced resistance and some type of fight, it seems like, wherever they are in every big city. So smart of them to just start the relationship off on a different foot and say, hey, let's go ahead and collect that tax and give it to the government. I mean, they're learning from their lessons.
Yeah, and it's smart also because once you start giving money to a government, they're going to spend it, and so now the government is already used to getting that money, so they'll probably be more willing to cooperate.
Absolutely.
Otherwise,
very smart.
Otherwise, they have to make some cuts in their budgets, and it's not something that governments like to do.
Right. And Airbnb probably doesn't want to spend any more money on attorneys. They probably added up what they've been spending, and they're like, it's inevitable that we would have to do this again. So let's just go ahead and start with a great relationship here and do it how we've worked it out with other cities with paying the tax.
Yeah, so I think it's really a win-win situation. And Chris Lehane, he's the head of policy for Airbnb, said that Airbnb plans to take this more friendly approach throughout Latin America. It's currently discussing agreements similar to the one in Mexico City with governments of Buenos Aires and Sao Paulo in this is Argentina and Brazil as well. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good approach.
I'm wondering, I know the article talked about Airbnb's competition down there, Hotel Urbano, I guess, which is another way to book accommodations. And, maybe they're already paying the government as well. I didn't see that in the article, but if they are, it would make sense for Airbnb to follow suit on what's already built in down there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, they're also planning to expand the staff a lot. They're expecting to double staff in South America by the end of the year, open offices in Argentina, Brazil, and Mexico. So there's going to be a lot of employment opportunities. So if anyone wants to work for Airbnb, it's Argentina, Brazil, and Mexico where the opportunity is.
Great. Yeah, good for them.
Hosts, does it feel like you're spending way too much time responding to questions from your Airbnb guests? Is the fear of a possible bad review keeping you up at night? I recently learned about a really helpful service called Aviva IQ. With Aviva IQ, my workload and worries have reduced dramatically. All I had to do was link my Airbnb listings to Aviva IQ, create my messages, and schedule delivery times. That's it. I can't believe how easy it was to set up. Now I can sit back and relax knowing that my guests receive all the important details on time, every time. Everybody sleeps better. Check them out at www.avivaiq.com. Let's talk about another topic, and this is a topic that you liked. You told me about it's about Japan. Their Airbnb is going into a luxury website for traditional inns and specialty hotels.
Yeah, I like this. I thought that it was it fell in line with Airbnb's experiences. So it seems to make sense. And Japan seems to need some help because they've had lower occupancy rates, it seems, than other Asian countries. So the inns that they're talking about are like hot spring resorts that they said are big draw for travelers. That sounds like a great experience that Airbnb could sell. So it sounds like a good platform. And I guess that they're going to be sharing revenue with that luxury booking site. So it sounds like they're going to split a 10% fee, Airbnb and the booking site, and then the rest goes to the luxury hotel.
Right. This is an interesting concept. So there's basically going to be hotel rooms on Airbnb, and so Airbnb allows them to put their rooms on Airbnb, and then they take a cut. It's interesting that they're doing it this way because I know that a lot of people who use Airbnb sometimes they think that they're booking like a room in a house with a local person. But then they're actually booking, an apartment from a big company, and it's not really the experience that they're expecting.
Right.
So I wonder if that's, I'm not sure if it's the right direction for Airbnb to go on, to put more sort of professional type of accommodations on their website.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying there for sure. Airbnb seems to, and this goes back to the Open and Chip Conley about making sure that they're transparent. So, maybe it will look different. Maybe something that's not an in-house experience, they might give it a different flavor or something. That would be nice because I think that's really what they try to do. At least that's what they say they try to do, is to give guests, and they push that on all of the hosts to really be true about their properties so that the expectations are set correctly for the person booking.
Yeah, you're definitely right about the sort of the lower occupancy rates that these traditional inns are facing, because the article is actually stating that while for full service hotels, the average room occupancy rate was about 80%, but for these more traditional inns and resort hotels, they're like more around the 40 to 60% mark. So that's quite a big difference.
Yeah. Sounds like they need some help. But it sounds, I mean, hot spring resort. I'm in. I'm all in. I'm going to one this summer, actually, but not in Asia. I'm going in Central America.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's nice. It's those hot springs. I actually went to one in near Taipei at the end of last year.
Oh, cool. It was wonderful.
Yeah, it was. I mean, sitting in a hot tub with really warm water is always a quite enjoyable experience, I would say.
With a nice view, I imagine.
Well, it wasn't as nice as I envisioned it, but it was basically because I imagined like a hot spring to be in the middle of nature somewhere, right?
Yeah,
but this was just like kind of in the middle of a city. There was a
okay.
little park right next to the and they called it a resort, but it kind of looked like a normal hotel, just a part of a very big building. So it didn't really. Yeah, I definitely envisioned it to be a little bit different, but the hot water is coming out of the ground there, and they just pump it directly into your hot tub in your room, and then you sit in it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's still nice to sit in a hot tub.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I'm going to one in Costa Rica, and so I've already seen pictures. The views sound a little bit better than that, so I'll have to send you the link.
Yeah, I'll make sure to look at pictures next time as well before I book something. Anyway, let's touch on one more topic. Airbnb is in talks in San Francisco to expand their offices, it seems, as it snaps up space for urban campus.
Yeah. It seems like they've let their intentions be known that they want to dominate this area where they have set up shop in San Francisco. So they're trying to snap up as much space as they can, but it sounds like it's going to double the number of employees that they can have in San Francisco. So more job opportunity, everybody. If you want to move to San Francisco, if you're in San Francisco, to work at Airbnb.
Yeah, and currently about half of its 3,000 employees around the world are in San Francisco. And with this new office space, it would allow Airbnb to basically double their number of employees to 3,000. So that means that would be like 1,500 new jobs. I'm not sure if that's going to be good for the affordability of the housing in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, maybe they'll be keeping in the plan that helps affordable housing, but yeah, it's good news. Or maybe they'll all just be Airbnb guests, all of these employees. Who knows? It's a $15 million deal.
Maybe they'll sleep in the offices.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. And it's a block away from where their headquarters is. But $15 million is the price tag they're putting on this expansion.
$15 million. It's a little money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before we go,
space is expensive in San Francisco.
Yeah. No, tell me about it. I'm always happy that I can crash for free with David. So the last thing I want to mention, there's an article. We've talked about this a couple of weeks ago about the new system that is in place to facilitate the registration of hosts in San Francisco, and I just want to mention it because it's an interview style article which answers a lot of questions that people might have about these new regulations. So it goes into all the different details. It's an article in the San Francisco Chronicle, and it's good information about how it works, and it's really cool that you can register on Airbnb and on HomeAway. It's not just a deal for Airbnb, but also for HomeAway. All the hosts in San Francisco have to register at September 6th, the latest, and they will get their registration numbers on their listing pages. And if you don't do that, then Airbnb is going to block, and HomeAway as well, they're going to block your listing. So everybody really has to go ahead and register.
Yeah, this is the questions are answered by the city's deputy city attorney, the director of the San Francisco Office of Short-Term Rentals, a spokesperson for Airbnb. So very educated, in the know individuals who are answering the questions. I assume you're going to put the link up, but it might be a rule of thumb for New York City to follow as well, and other cities. So this is definitely a good source for information.
And one more interesting fact that I saw in this article is that if you live in a residential neighborhood, you receive a notice of any property within 300 feet of you that's applied to be a short-term rental.
Yeah, that's I don't know. I'm not sure I'm in agreement with that part.
I think that might be one step too far.
Well, yeah, exactly. It really is. I mean, being an Airbnb host myself, I don't need. What did you say the radius was?
300 feet.
How? Okay. Well, I guess everybody within 300 feet actually knows about our house being a rental.
But the thing is, it almost frames Airbnb guests as like dangerous people or something. That you need to watch out for them. Like if somebody has an Airbnb rental in your neighborhood, we'll let you know. You're
absolutely right, because the only other. Right, go ahead. You're about to say.
I was going to say it's like sex offenders, right?
Right. Exactly.
So I don't know.
So why are Airbnb hosts grouped in that? That's very strange to me.
I mean, that's the association that people are going to have. I think if I get a letter like, oh, let's say you've never heard of Airbnb and you're just living somewhere, and then you get a letter in the mail saying, hey, we wanted to let you know that within a 300 feet radius, somebody has opened up an Airbnb, and you'll be like, huh? Like, is this something I have to be worried about?
It brings a spotlight on that property and that homeowner, and it's going to cause problems. I'm not sure if they were forced to agree to that. I mean, that's something I would definitely, if I were Airbnb, I would try and negotiate out, and not make sure it wasn't in any more negotiations going forward with other cities.
Yeah,
that's horrible.
I agree. All right, Nicole, thanks a lot for joining, and I'll speak to you again in a few weeks.
Thanks so much for having me, Jasper.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. And for all the listeners, thank you for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Get paid for your pet. 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 Get